Hey family, it's Coach Josh here again with a daily play for you. Today's daily play is 10 ways to keep a good name. 10 ways to keep or sustain a good name. Before we get into all these points, make sure you go to my website right now, iamunplugged.com/worksheets, and there you'll be able to download today's worksheet and really process whether or not you have a good name or better ways to sustain a good name. But as everyone is coming in, for those who are new after watching this video and you liking what you vibing with, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell. And for those who's been a part of my community for a long time, go ahead and like, comment, and share, and give this video some traction and help other people bear a good name. But let's get right to my main thought. And my main thought is this: a good name comes from knowing a greater name. A good name comes from knowing a greater name. My question for you today is, when your name is mentioned, what do people think? When your name is mentioned, what do people think? And my talking points are threefold for today's video. The talking points are: what is a good name, the importance of a good name, and how to keep or have a good name. Let's get to the problem. Many people are caring less about carrying a good name. Many people are caring less about carrying a good name. Their names are not ready for the next level. It's unfortunate how many people right now do not have the value of name for the place that they want to be. It's unfortunate how many people are not caring about having a good name. The verse that I have here in Proverbs 22:1-6 says, or not 1-6, but verse 1, it says, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. It says a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. It's crazy how many people are pursuing riches, silver, and gold instead of embracing and developing and sustaining a good name and welcoming the favor of God. I'm telling you, a fruitful name always brings favor. And that's why it's important for this video, so that you all can really process, do I have a good name for the good place that I want to be in life? Let's keep going. Now, what is a good name? Let's get some definitions. Number one, a good name. A good name is a person's good reputation. A good name by definition is a person's good reputation. Now, reputation by definition is an overall quality or character as seen or judged by people in general. Recognition by other people of some characteristic or ability. So reputation is an overall quality or characteristic that's noticed by someone else. Right? And there's also a characteristic trait that people deem you by, like that person's reputation is good. That person has a reputation of being a thief. That person has a reputation of being a help. That's what reputation is. And it's very important that you understand how far your name goes in these streets, how far your name goes in the ears and through the mouths of other people. A good name, again, is a person's good reputation. A reputation, by definition, is an overall quality or character as seen or judged by people in general. We're not talking about just what your mama think about you. We're not talking about how just one person thinks about you. We're talking about the universal senses of people's perspective or perception of you. So when people see you, what comes to their mind first? When people hear your name, what comes to their minds first? Now, we're not talking about what haters think, because hate is flattery. So we're not talking about your haters. We're talking about the people who consider, care about you. What do they think when your name is brought into question? Now, why is it important to have a good name? I have these 6 things of why it is important to have a good name, because it reflects, number one, Christ. It's important to have a good name because it reflects Christ. As a Christian, don't even call yourself a Christian if you're not following Christ. Don't call yourself a Christian if you're not bearing the fruit of Christ's Spirit. It reflects Christ. That's why so many people are church hurt. That's why so many people are whatever about Christians, because of the characteristics. Now, don't get me wrong. Just because a believer or a Christian acts a certain type of way doesn't give you clearance to leave the faith. You don't judge a faith by its followers. You judge a faith by the one that established it. So that's out the window there. But unfortunately, so many people who are babes and young or new are shying away is because of how we reflect Christ. And it's important as a believer that you bear the characteristics of Christ and bear a good name because it reflects him. Number two, it reflects your calling. It reflects your calling. It reflects your purpose. You got to have a good name because your purpose will only go as far as your name. Your purpose will only go as far as your name up under a greater name. And what I mean by that, this ministry will only go as far as my credibility. My ministry will only go as far, my business, everything that I do will only go as far as my name. So your name reflects your calling. Your name also reflects your character. What type of character are you playing in other people's narratives? What character are you playing in other people's businesses, other people's areas of influence? It reflects your character. You limit yourself if your character is bad. And so that's why it's important to make sure your name is great so that there will be no debate for your fate. You see what I'm saying? So that you'll know, hey, I can go as far as I want in life because my character is established as a Christ-centered character and I can navigate any area of life because my name is good. Also, why is it important to have a good name? Because it reflects your commitment level. People want to know how committed you are, right? So you have to look at your name and say, am I a diligent, durable, committed person? Like your name reflects your commitment level. When people hear your name, they're gonna be like, all right, he ain't gonna show up. All right, she ain't gonna follow through. She not really committed. She always drops everything. It hinders your progression. Let's keep going. Why is it important to have a good name? Because it reflects your connections. See, my name reflects everyone who bears my name. My name reflects whoever's connected to my name. That's why I always tell men, man, how valuable is your last name? Would any woman really want to bear your last name? I don't care. Like, my name is a funky name. My name is 3 letters, it's Nigerian, and my wife don't care because that Eze name is a good name. So I don't care if your name got 15 letters in it. I don't care if it's got different whatever. A woman won't mind bearing your last good name if it's good. And ladies, no man wants to give his good name to a woman who doesn't have a great first name, who doesn't have a good first name. So both men and women have to really process before I connect myself to this person, how good is their name? How good is their name with the people that they borrow money from? How good is their name at their job? How good? Because that name is important. Because if your name is not good at the job as a man, a woman ain't gonna want to connect to your last name because you may lose your job. And no man wants to connect to a woman with bad credit if he has good credit. So your name is important before you connect to other people. And it's unfortunate how many children are connected to bad names of their parents. But the good thing about life is any good name, any bad name can be turned into a good name. But we have to think about that when it comes to connecting, because your name right now will determine or will reflect those who are connected. That's why I'm glad that I built a good first and a good last name. That when people think about Joshua Eze, for the most part, 80 to 90% of the people have something favorable to say. That's one thing that really gave peace to my wife and peace to my wife's family, that when they started coming to the church that I go to, everyone kept coming to her saying, that's a good guy. Even when I first went to my wife's first cookout, and her aunt, who knew me since I was 12 years old, soon as she brought me into the living room in front of all her family, she was like, oh, she's dating this guy? Oh, that's good right there. It brings peace when people can look back and say, this guy's a good guy. This girl's a good guy. And that's what's good about keeping a good name for decades, for years, because your name will be echoed in rooms and be talked about in rooms favorably, and your feet are not even there. And that's why it's important to have a good name, because that's why God has blessed me with favor and other people with favor that I know, because their names are good. You see what I'm saying? It's hard for God to endorse a bad name. It's hard for God to give favor to a person who doesn't have a good name. That's why your mission in life is to pursue a good name more so than good riches, and and pursue favor than silver and gold. Now, this doesn't have nothing to do with me. It's because I realized this principle. Have my name dipped a few times in life? Of course, everybody's names dip. But when you have that mindset, you're going to always have that name rise, because you're going to be like, my bad, I apologize, please forgive me, I will do better, and make sure you do better so that you can redeem and repolish that name that may have taken a dip. Let's keep going. Now, why is it important to have a good name? Last but not least, probably the least one of this list, definitely the least, last and least of this list, is cash. You know what I'm saying? It's your finances, it's money. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to give or loan or open up opportunities to someone that don't have a bad name. No one's going to want to partner or invest in what you're doing if they don't see that it's important to you. Why would someone invest cash or invest anything in life? Why would people invest silver, gold, favor, and riches to a person with a bad name? So your name could affect your cash flow. Your name could affect how much money you bring in and what revenue streams actually rise to the surface. These are some of the things you got to think about of why it is important to have a good name. Now, let's get into how to get and keep a good name. 10 ways to keep a good name. 10 ways to keep a good name. And of course, I spelled the word name. Number one, real quickly. 10 ways to keep a good name. Number one, don't do it for your name's sake, but for his name's sake. That's number one. Don't do it because you want to have a good name for selfish reasons, to get more money, to get a certain type of wife or husband or whatever it is. Don't even do it for your good name. I don't want you to get it twisted. Don't do it for your good name. Do it for his name's sake. That's something greater. That will motivate you. That will elevate your action, because when the word says work heartily unto the Lord, as unto man, that when you work hard unto the Lord and you work unto the Lord, things open up for you. And when you do that, your work ethic will exceed those around you. Look at Joseph, look at Daniel, look at the people in the Bible who, even in racist climates, even when a nation was rising up against nation, they rose to the top because of their name, because of their favor, because of their wisdom, because of each of these different things. So it doesn't matter what racist climate you're in. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It is you that rise to the top. No racism, no classism can affect someone who's connected to heaven. So when you're concerned about making God's name great, it doesn't matter who or whoever is out there who's trying to bring you down. You will always have buoyancy. And no matter what they try to bring you down, you will just shoot higher. So you don't do it for your name, you do it for his name's sake. I want to make God's name great. Oh, you want to see God really flood favor and really flood opportunities in your life? Focus on making his name great. And what I mean by making his name great, I'm not talking about you got to say Jesus, 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 Jesus everywhere. Making his name great is bearing his character. So that when people look at your life and they're like, yo, what, you different. Why are you so different? Then you can share the hope that's in you. I don't believe in sharing the gospel outside of my lips. I believe in necessarily first, but I share my gospel. I share the gospel of Christ through my life. So when people see my life, there's some equity, there's some interest there, and then they're going to want to ask, why are you who you are? And then that's when the gospel comes out of your mouth, and they'll have a greater chance of receiving Christ because they saw Christ through your life. They saw favor in your life. They saw peculiarity throughout your life. They saw that while the king's people were eating meat and doing things the world's way, they will see that by you sticking to the principles of God, like the Hebrews, they will see that you will come out stronger, not shinier. You'll come with a better countenance, and you'll be more prepped and ready for war. That is what the focus should be. Not about you selfishly making your name great, but saying, I'm going to focus on making Christ's name great. And in doing so, man, everything and anything that's pertaining to you and I, those doors will be open. Secondly, another way to keep your name great, nurse your wounds and remove all negative habit. Nurse your wounds. A lot of the damage to our name is due to undealt with wounds. You got to nurse those wounds, man, so that your emotions won't be all out of the way, so your words can be specific and sharp and direct, so that you won't be just ruining opportunities for yourself and people, oh, she's just loud, or he's just a HOE, and he's this and she's that, because you still wounded by what your dad did. You still wounded by what your mom did. You got to get over those wounds, yo. You got to nurse those wounds, heal those wounds, because undealt with wounds can hinder you from winning, will hinder you from shining, will hinder you from succeeding. So you got to nurse those wounds. Also, you got to remove negative habits. What are the habits that you're doing right now? I have a phrase with habits. Look at the word habits. Bits that leads to big happenings. Bits habits, right? Little bits, little things that you do over and over again that determine certain happenings. So you got to change your habits. You got to say, are these habits really ruining and damaging my name and ruining and damaging anything that's connected to me in purpose? You also got to think about what you want to connect to you. And are your habits affecting that? Let's continue. How to keep and sustain a good name? Associate with others with good names. Surround yourself with people who got good names. You see what I'm saying? Like roll with people who got good names. Don't roll with people who ain't doing anything about their life. Be around people that care about their name, because when they see you slipping about your name, they're going to check you on that. Yo, man, what you doing? You're going to ruin yourself. Man, watch what you doing, young lady. Yo, what you tripping? You're going to ruin your opportunities. Associate with people with good names. Next, let's keep going. Add value. Add value. If you want to increase your name and sustain a good name, wherever you are, add value. Add value at your job. Add value at your church. Add value in someone else's business. Just add value. Add value. That's how you get a good name. Because a person who sees your name and says, yo, that's a hard worker. That person, no matter what he or she touches, it turns to gold. There's favor on that man's life. I don't care who you cut. Like, that's what happens. When you add value, you're the last one they even think about laying off. When you add, that's why it's important to add value, because people can't let go of what add. They don't care about what you believe. They don't care about what church you go to. People don't care about what you do. They don't care about what you value privately or publicly. They care about what value add. That's what happens when having a good name. People don't care about what I believe in. If they know I add value, bring your Christ over, bring your Jesus over, because whatever that your God is doing for you is doing great things for me. That's how you add value to Christ's name, because you add value because you work unto him. Let's keep going. Another way that you can add a good name under A, under advertise and over deliver. You know how to make an A out of that. It's usually under sale and over deliver, but under advertise and over deliver. Don't advertise what you really don't have in stock. Don't advertise that you have a quality of a product or quality of a trait or quality of an attribute that you really don't have. Under advertise and then over deliver. Let's keep going. M, how to keep and sustain a good name. Be mindful of word of mouth and be mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. Be mindful of word of mouth and mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. What do I mean? You got to be mindful of word of mouth, man. Word of mouth is the greatest form of marketing. You got to move with people's word of mouth in mind. That we're not talking about haters. Haters that's flattery. That's admirable. When people hate on me, man, you must like me. You see what I'm saying? But when it comes to word of mouth, you got to say there's always someone watching, and I got to be mindful, because that's why I always treat everybody well, because you don't know who is connected to the wellspring you want to be connected to. That's why I treat every secretary right. I treat every janitor right, genuinely. I treat everybody right, because you don't know who the person you want to know treasures the most in their company, treasures the most in their ministry or whatever. So if you make it a habit of treating everybody right, no matter who it is, then you'll be successful. I told a young lady in life coach, and I said, man, you got to treat every secretary right. You got to treat everybody right, because you never know, like I said, who that person you want to be connected to treasures. So you got to always be mindful of word of mouth, that people will talk about you in consideration of what you want to be connected to. Also got to be mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. You got to watch what you say. You got to really put a muzzle over your mouth and make sure that you, number one, that you're just not spraying words and hurting your own self. Let's continue. E, how to keep and sustain a good name. E, learn to control your emotions and increase your emotional intelligence. If you want a good name, this is very important. You got to have self-control of your emotions. It doesn't matter what another person does. You got to hold your peace. Don't give a person a piece of your mind. Hold your peace, man. Because I remember one time I was playing basketball. You heard that story. I had to stop, about to break this dude's face off. I had to stop because everybody in the gym could be watching. I don't have time to go to each person and validate my character. No, they see my character based upon how I hold my emotions. That's why it's important to walk away. It's better to lose a battle and win the war. Winning the war is getting home. Winning the war is keeping the membership. Winning the war is leaving with your life. Winning the war is makes you not bringing an embarrassment to your wife. That's winning the war. So don't win a battle for ego's sake. Win the war for everyone's sake. You see what I'm saying? So you have to have emotional intelligence as well. You got to be able to say, okay, how should I navigate around each person? and really be the best and develop the best way to serve them. Let's keep going. Now, how to develop a good name? Always be eager to equal your word. In other words, keep your word. Be eager. That's why the Bible says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Anything else beyond that is sin. If you know you can do it, do it. And we're talking about being led by the Spirit. Even if you know you can do it, it's okay to say no. But also, when you know that you do not have the ability to do it, or that you do have the ability to do it, but you know for a fact it's not wise for you to do it, then no. Because if you keep spraying promises and you don't equal your word, then your name lose value in that person's mind. They're going to be like, oh, he ain't going to come through. Or she ain't going to come through. He always says. And I used to be that person. I was such a people pleaser that I would want to please everyone without actually having the ability to please them, and it weakened my name. That's why I'm very specific in what I say I do. Because I know my name. I don't want people thinking that Josh ain't gonna come through, when at the root of it, I endeavored to come through, but I was a people pleaser, but I never looked at myself in pleasure sight towards God and endeavoring to make sure that I'm a pleasure to myself, so I don't know what and how to delegate certain pleasures to other people. We got to think about that. Last but not least, you got to endure, or in other words, always be consistent and embrace your responsibilities. You got to be consistent. In order to keep a good name, you got to be consistent. You got to be able to endure. You got to be able to endure, or in other words, always be consistent. Show up. Show up. If you say you're going to do it, show up. Endure it. The Bible says, do it even when you in suffering your own harm. So he's saying is, even if it hurts you, you got to do it because you put your word out there. You also just got to be consistent. That's what makes your name credible. That's what makes you incredible and makes your name credible, when you are consistent. With this, people see me as credible because they can track. You can go all the way on my Facebook, start on my Facebook, you can go all the way back to May 1st of 2008 and track my consistency for over a decade. For 12 years, you can track my consistency. And when you do that, it adds credibility to your name because your name has experience. Last but not least, you got to embrace your responsibilities. You don't want to lose value to your wife because you don't handle your responsibilities, or lose value to your husband because you're not being responsible. You got to think about your name, because your name is echoed in rooms that your feet are not in, and it could be closing that door from you or opening it to you. I hope this daily play was a blessing to you. Make sure you go to my website, iamunplugged.com, download the worksheet, man, and let's work on making sure that we have a good name, because we know the greater name and we're doing it for his name's sake. And like I always say, y'all run the play well. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.